Okay, so it's the second day of the fiesta. It's Bonificio Day. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's still the morning, so the party doesn't begin till the afternoon. But I've been asked to do some cooking, so I'm going to cook a pork satay. I got plenty of pork because the pig was slaughtered yesterday, so we're going to have pork. So I'm going to be cooking over the natural fire once that's lit. But as far as the recipe goes, it's the same as I would cook at home. So, hope you enjoy. So we start off with the ingredients, and basically you can make a pork satay, you know, with very different variations in the sauce. It's really up to you. Basically, I tend to use, you know, my own version. You know, without doubt, you've got to have the peanut butter. You know, I use oyster sauce instead of soy. You should use one or the other, not both. I use a little bit of sesame, tends to give a nice nut flavour. And then we've got coconut cream, prefer the cream because it gives a richer texture. Ground cumin, which is to me is a very important ingredient. Onion as well is another basic flavour. I like putting a little bit of turmeric in mine. And this is something I don't usually do, but everybody over here seems to like mushrooms since I've introduced them to them for the first time, so I'm sticking in some mushrooms, sugar to sweeten it up, and also some potatoes just to give some bulk. There is a possibility that I might stick in some aubergine. You know, really at the end of the day, it's down to you what you want to put in, you know, to bulk it out. But that's the main sauce ingredients I use, and some stock cubes, a couple of stock cubes. Pork I've got, excuse the camera, is this. So quite some nice cuts of pork there. So I'm going to be chopping those up into probably about 1 to 2 inch cubes. So first task is to cut the onions. Apologise for the karaoke in the background, but fiesta times in the Philippines, birthdays, etc. Karaoke comes as part of the parcel. So basically what you want to do is chop the onion in half and chop it in about 1 centimetre sort of pieces is what I prefer. So basically this sort of size, yeah. Okay, so that's the onion chopped, and now I'm going to chop garlic. One thing I didn't mention, I'm going to use a whole clove because basically I'm cooking quite a lot here. There's about 2 kilograms of meat in total, so I need a real, like, sort of some strong flavors here. So again, the way I prefer cutting my garlic for a dish like this, which is in effect going to be in a sauce, is to peel it, cut the ends off. Once you've cut the ends, like, crush them with a knife, and then you know, you've got a whole clove there, so just split it in the middle and put it in with the rest of the veg ready. Okay, so that's the onion and garlic chopped up. I shall give that a quick rinse shortly. Now I'm just going to chop up the meat into chunks, and then it's going to be browned and stuff. So as you can see, it's certainly not a butcher's cut, should we put it that way. So obviously use whatever pork you want to get. Because again, I'm doing this more for the Filipino taste, and the interesting enough, fillet pork costs the same as belly pork and any other pork over here, whereas in the West we go for the nice cuts without any fat, and they're expensive. Over here the belly pork tends to be the more expensive because they like everything with the fat. So now my able assistant is trying to open a bottle of beer. Angelica, if you look, where's the tin opener? In the basket here. The other end of the tin opener is a bottle opener. The other end is a bottle opener. On the tin opener here, this is a bottle opener. That bit.
You're so.
It's only one bottle. It's about 1.5 litre, I think. How big is it?
I don't know.
Okay. So, in the true tradition of Floyd on fish, you can't cook unless you can have a beer with it, or a glass of wine in his case. So I'm going to continue to cut this pork now, and join me again for the next stage shortly. This is how you chop pork.
Yes.
You drink a beer and let your beautiful assistant do the chopping of the pork. So first thing we're going to do now, obviously, is to get the fire going so we can start to brown off and crisp up the pork in the case here. Olga, I wouldn't recommend you do this at home. That's the lighting the fire bit in the kitchen, yeah? So that's our task for the next 20 minutes or so. But all the pork is cut up, the onions are cut into their chunks and the garlic's crushed. So we're just about ready to start the cooking process. Right, that's enough. So you've just joined us now and we're just starting to crisp up the pork. If you've bought fillet pork or shoulder, then just a quick brown would be fine enough to do this. So this is going to be quite a long process for us because obviously we're cooking quite a lot. Okay, after realising that basically I'm never going to get this flame hot enough for this type of pan to actually crisp the pork up, it takes forever. Drag half the pork to one side, still got a lot to do yet, but decided I'm going to actually just brown off the onions and garlic first, and then we'll just drain that and add the pork afterwards. Slight variation, but it is purely for the situation I'm in now. Important thing with a wok or anything like this, stop it sticking, is to keep it all moving. You can see the pork at the edges slightly sticking. It will start to stick and before you know it, it's burnt. So we'll keep moving it at least once every 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how hot the heat is. So with the onions, what you want to do is cook them until they just start to get like a shiny glaze on them, which is just starting to get now. It's just enough to start changing the flavour and texture. As you can see, the meat's starting to get a bit more cooked now, so what I'm going to do is take this out and just cook some more of the meat up. And that's the thing, never try and cook, if you're cooking for a party, never try and cook too much in one go. Cook it in small batches as far as the main ingredient goes, like the meat, because you'll just end up with a soggy mess that takes 10 times longer to cook. Okay, so the meat is nearly all browned off now. Stick it all in together. Again, karaoke is well and truly going there. So you get a bit of heat into that, and then I'm going to start adding the different ingredients. So really, the first thing you want to start adding is the stuff that's going to help it cook. Now, basically, don't use sesame for cooking, it's only for flavouring. It doesn't get hot enough to really cook well. So I can put it in first because then I'm going to be adding some water. So flip the lid on this and basically open the top first. And I didn't open the top on this bottle. So now open the top on it. Basically, you know, cooking quite a lot of pork here. We doubled the amount here, and I think it's about 3 or 4 kilograms. So I've poured in about 1/3 of the bottle on this. So normally, if you're cooking for say 2 or 3 people, probably a couple of tablespoons tops. Okay, so that's getting some heat into it now. So I'm going to start adding, I like adding all the flavouring type stuff before I add all the water really. In this case, it's not getting too hot, so it's not going to cause a problem with burning the herbs and spices. There's no herbs, but spices in this case. So let's just do that. So let's start off by adding a few good glugs of oyster sauce. Again, this is just a flavour really, it's just to give some really good base flavours. So it's got a small bottle and I'm cooking a lot, so I've put in about half a small bottle of that. Right, now the important one as far as I'm concerned is cumin. That gives it a real good sort of overall satay taste. So again, I would only put in like 1 or 2 teaspoons full if you're cooking for 2 or 3. In my case, what have we got here? A little bit more. I'll put in about 1/4 of a little bottle. Remember the golden rule, you can add but you can't take away. So you know, it's important to not overdo it. So turmeric, again, always a small amount. Gives a nice sort of base flavour to it, like a, I wouldn't say nutty, but that sort of flavour, and tends to help with the colouring also. It's very orange. So we'll start off with just that small amount. Again, remember, you can add but you can't take away. So just start to mix it all together now. You know, there is quite a bit of water coming out of the pork, fat and juices, which is great. Again, in this case, just give it a bit more time to get some heat into it. So it's been heating up for a little while, so let's just add some water. Again, you know, you can always keep adding water. In this case, I've added enough to sort of, you can just see it coming through. So you've got about 1 inch of the meat sticking out from the top of the water. And that's a good rule to go to, because what we're going to do later is thicken it. as well. So so we've done that. Next thing to do is to start adding some more base ingredients. In this case, the peanut butter. This is a local one that I found. I couldn't find any Western ones or UK ones at all, but they grow peanuts here, so you know it should be good stuff. Okay, so with the peanut butter, just like everything else, don't overdo it. In a dish this size, probably about 4 or 5 tablespoons. But if you're doing it at home, I would say 1 dessert spoon. It really does add a lot of rich flavour to everything. So I'm just going to go ahead now and add the amount that I just said. So it's starting to bubble nicely now, so next thing I do is put in some more of the sort of bulking ingredients. In this case it's a little tin of mushrooms, which I haven't opened enough to be able to get them out. Okay, in this case I'm putting in 3 cans. I've drained the water, by the way, and just add a bit. Sorry, there's a bit left in, so it's going to add a little bit, but don't worry about it. Let's put them in. At this stage also, I'm going to add the chili powder. Now the problem with chili powder is you never know the strength of the chili powder. So I would say err on the side of caution, and you know, just a very small amount first. Sprinkle. I would say put in like you know, use the handle of a spoon. I would say so. Okay. So I'm just going to mix that now. Starting to look like a dish now. So at this stage also, I'm going to put the potato in, because I'm putting a potato in mine, and that's going to take a bit of time to cook, because we're at the stage of really letting it simmer now for about, you know, 15 minutes or so. I'm going to taste it shortly and see what the flavours are like, the balance or not. And the last thing I'll put in it's going to be the coconut cream. But anyway, join me in 20 minutes or so when it's bubbled for a while. So it's been bubbling away for about 20 minutes now, so I'm just going to give it a little taste and see how we're doing on the flavours. I've added the stock cubes, I've added a little bit of chili powder, all the mushrooms now, so everything's in there apart from the coconut. Add the coconut at the very, very last, because it masks the flavours, or can do quite easily, so you need to find out what your base flavours are like before you add coconut. So let's just see. That is nice. Really rich peanut flavour, very creamy tasting. Balance of that is pretty spot on, if I do say so myself. Coconut wise, I'll be adding a little bit, but not too much to this one. Again, you can add as much chili as you like to see, you know, it depends how long, it depends how hot you like it. So yeah. So it's going to be another 10 minutes or so. Yeah, as soon as the potatoes start getting soft, then you're ready to put your coconut cream in, and then you've got your flavours. Obviously it's best served, you know, hot or at least warm. Philippines, they tend to like all their food just about stone cold. That's because of the weather. It's so hot, you don't want a hot meal, I'll tell you that now. So join me when I'm adding the coconut shortly. Okay, so I'm really at the stage now where it's been bubbling away nicely for the last 20 20 minutes. Potatoes are just about cooked. Flavors are perfectly balanced. Don't need to add any extra, take anything away. Not that you can. But I'm going to add some coconut cream to it. Now, to be honest with you, you have to be really careful with the coconut cream because it can totally mask. Your flavors. So I'm quite loath to add more than a little dash in this case. So as you can see, probably about half a can, which isn't that much considering the size of the dish. So you know, just be careful with it because it will mask your flavors. Okay, so I added about half a can, a large can of coconut cream to this dish, but we're talking a very large dish. I would say probably you would have added only a couple of tablespoons or so to your dish at home if it's good for the 2 or 3. So again, now you should have this lovely sort of thick, peanutty, yellowy coloured sauce that is going to be so rich. I tasted it just now and I'm really happy with this dish. I'm just hoping my Philippine friends and future family actually like the flavour. Strange enough, I've had little success so far with impressing them with food because their tastes are so different. You know, for example, you know, we eat cheese and lettuce sandwich. Angelica thought that was disgusting and just didn't like it at all and went back to a dried fish and rice. Yeah, so you know, that's the way things are. So anyway, I'll do a little sequel to see how they like the taste later. But thank you for watching, and just wait to see the tasting session coming up very shortly.